Hi, I'm Chioma Isiadinso, CEO of Expartus. I'm going to be sharing with you some tips about the recommendation letters for business school. The first thing to keep in mind is it's actually very important. It's a third-party endorsement of who you are and your story. Admissions boards want to know the context where you've worked. So they want to know who you work with, how do you pair up or measure up to them. Are you someone who's quite extraordinary, and if so, how? They're looking for evidence, concrete examples to justify any claims that the recommender is going to make about you. And the second thing is constructive feedback. The admissions board wants to know that you are someone that has received real advice on how to improve, and you've actually done something about it. If a recommender does not have examples of times when they've given you constructive feedback, then clearly that person is not the right recommender to use. Okay, so it's very important to keep that in mind. And I get the question a lot in terms of whether it's good to choose somebody who's an alum of a school or somebody who must have an MBA. It's not necessary. It's actually much more important that you have somebody who knows your work very well, somebody who's actually supervised you and has seen your work up close and personal and can actually share very specific, detailed example of the impact you've had and how you've contributed and how you've responded when you've been given that constructive feedback. So it's very important for applicants to choose wisely, take a step back and look at the pros and cons of each potential person you're thinking of asking to write a recommendation for you. And once you've decided, then it's very important that you then take the time to prepare them so that they know your brand, they're aware of your brand, and that they are brand champions, and that they also can reinforce your story. Extremely important. So don't just come 2 weeks before the deadline and approach your boss and say, I'm applying to business school. Clearly that's not going to win you and your friends. You want to put a trial balloon out and see if your supervisor would actually be supportive of an MBA to start with, and potentially be someone who would recommend you. And typically, once you kind of raise this point, and they respond with, "Of course, I think the MBA is great. I think I'm happy to write a recommendation letter for you." The natural next step then is to say to them, "I'll put together some bullet points that highlights how I'm planning to position my story, and then I'll definitely get back in touch with you." And once you've done that and you've highlighted your brand message, you highlight examples of times that they've given you constructive feedback, things like that, then you sit down with them and you have a conversation around the points you've highlighted. And then it's now up to the recommender to write the recommendation. So approaching them about 2 months before is extremely important, to give them enough time to make a decision, and also especially if they're recommending you for multiple schools. Okay, so that's it for the recommenders. It's very important that you start early, that you give them enough heads up, that you choose the right person, and it has to be someone who's actually supervised your work. And, it's good to have different perspectives, different viewpoints. So it's not a bad idea to have a second recommendation come from somebody who has seen you in a different capacity, whether it's through extracurricular involvement where you have achieved significant leadership and impact in that role, or it is a client or even another supervisor, but from a different perspective, so that you can have more of a well-rounded recommendation covered in your application. That's it. I look forward to sharing more insights and tips with you on how to get into top business schools. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and share your comments and your questions. I look forward to hearing from you. Cheers and all the best.